Namo Buddhaya. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, trapped in an endless cycle of thoughts? Or maybe you're constantly imagining the worst possible outcomes, feeling anxious about what others might think of you. If these experiences sound familiar, you're likely struggling with overthinking, a habit that can overwhelm your mind and rob you of peace. But there's good news. You can break free from this mental trap. Today, I'll share with you powerful insights inspired by Buddhist teachings to help you get out of your head, stop overthinking, and live a more peaceful, mindful life. Overthinking is not your friend. Let's start by acknowledging a truth that may surprise you. Overthinking does not help you in any meaningful way. Sure, it's important to plan, analyze, and think things through, but there's a limit. The moment you cross that line, planning turns into overthinking, and rather than helping, it starts to paralyze you. This is where most people get stuck. They mistake overthinking for careful planning, believing that the more they think about something, the better prepared they'll be. In reality, excessive thinking leads to indecision, anxiety, and a lack of action. Imagine preparing for a presentation or a big event. A little planning is essential, but if you spend hours obsessing over every possible mistake or trying to predict every potential outcome, you're no longer planning. You're worrying. And worry doesn't lead to action. It leads to stagnation. I can recall a time when I was preparing for a job interview. I thought that if I went over every potential question and every answer in my mind, I'd be prepared. Instead, I ended up feeling more anxious, and my actual performance in the interview suffered because my mind was overloaded. It was only later that I realized overthinking had sabotaged my confidence. It wasn't my knowledge or preparation that was the issue. It was my overthinking that clouded my ability to perform well. Mindfulness, a powerful tool. One of the most effective ways to stop overthinking is to practice mindfulness. This ancient practice, emphasized in Buddhist teachings, can help quiet your mind and bring you into the present moment. When you're mindful, you're no longer trapped in the past or worrying about the future. You're simply here, fully engaged in the moment. A simple mindfulness technique is to focus on your breath, something we often take for granted. Buddhist teachings such as anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, guide us to concentrate on our breath, particularly the inhale and exhale. By doing this, you shrink the thousands of thoughts in your mind to just two, breathing in and breathing out. With this focus, your mind finds peace. Whenever I feel overwhelmed with thoughts, I take a moment to pause and breathe deeply. I remember the first time I tried this during a particularly stressful day at work. I stopped, took 3 slow, deep breaths, and suddenly the storm of thoughts calmed. It didn't make my problems disappear, but it gave me the clarity to tackle them one at a time without the overwhelming feeling of chaos. Living in the present moment. There's a profound Buddhist saying that perfectly captures the impact of mindfulness. If you are sad, your mind is in the past. If you are anxious, your mind is in the future. But if you are peaceful, your mind is in the present moment. So many of us get caught in the what-if spiral. What if this happens? What if it all goes wrong? What if I fail? These are the kinds of questions that fuel anxiety and rob us of peace. But what if you flipped the script? Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" ask, "What if everything goes right? What if I succeed?" Being positive doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means embracing the fact that many possibilities exist, and not all of them are bad. I remember a time when I was working on a big project. I spent so much time worrying about the what-ifs that I became paralyzed with fear. But once I shifted my mindset and started thinking, what if this turns out to be a success? I felt a surge of confidence and motivation. The project didn't become easier overnight, but my approach to it changed, and that made all the difference. Stop perfectionism and embrace growth. Overthinking often stems from a desire to be perfect. We think, if I just analyze this a little more, I can avoid mistakes. But perfection is an illusion, and waiting for everything to be perfect before you take action is a recipe for procrastination. Instead, aim to be the best version of yourself. Understand that mistakes are part of the process. It's through these mistakes that we learn and grow. Take risks. Without them, there's no opportunity for success. In my own life, I used to obsess over details to the point where I wouldn't even start a project until I was sure it was perfect. But the truth is, nothing is ever perfect, and waiting for perfection meant that I was missing out on opportunities. One day, I decided to dive in, imperfections and all, and the results were surprisingly better than I had imagined. I learned that action, even imperfect action, is far more productive than endless overthinking. Practical steps for overcoming overthinking. Now, let's get practical. Here are some specific techniques you can try to break the cycle of overthinking. Practice deep breathing. As mentioned earlier, whenever you feel overwhelmed, take 3 deep breaths. This simple act can reset your mind and bring you back to the present moment. Check in with your body. Ask yourself, how am I sitting? How am I feeling right now? This helps you become more aware of your physical state, which can ground your mind and pull you out of your head. Set a time limit for decisions. If you're stuck overanalyzing a decision, give yourself a time limit. For example, tell yourself, I'll spend 10 minutes thinking about this, and then I'll make a decision. This prevents you from getting caught in an endless loop of indecision. Shift your perspective. Whenever you catch yourself thinking, what if everything goes wrong? Challenge that thought. Ask yourself, what if everything goes right? In the end, overthinking is just a habit, one that can be changed. The key lies in mindfulness, self-awareness, and taking action. Remember that the goal isn't to eliminate all thought, but to find a balance. When you live in the present moment, when you let go of perfectionism and take risks, you open yourself to growth, peace, and success. So the next time you catch yourself spiraling into overthinking, pause. Take a breath. Focus on the present moment. And remember, life happens here and now, not in the past or future, but right in this moment. Stop overthinking. Be kind to yourself, and embrace mindfulness. You'll find that when you do, life becomes not only more peaceful but also more fulfilling.